It's great to be in the Empire today. That is right, we had a party yesterday. Card, in the top right-hand corner, self-inflicted damage right there. Card in the top right-hand corner. If in case you missed it, we did a lot of Admiral Piett testing on our live stream. As always, thank you guys so much for coming out. You guys always make these so much fun. We learned a lot about Admiral Piett. I'm going to give you my initial impressions, what he's capable of, the Zetas that you should apply to him, and what he is good at. So if you could not make it to the stream, no worries. Kick back, relax. I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know. So Gary, bring him on over here. We have a lot to talk about this character. And first things first, is this a character to wail on? That's the main question. Of course, keep in mind, this character is going to be on an expedited release, meaning instead of waiting 3 months to be free to play, it's only going to be about a month and a half, 6 weeks to release him, because he will be needed for Gucci Sweater Galactic Legends Palpatine. So keep that in mind. If you are someone that's on the brink of whaling, it's going to be a much more abbreviated schedule to get him released. Let's start rolling some gameplay here while we talk about it. Furthermore, if you're impatient, the only really true reason to whale at Admiral Piett, two, I suppose. One, to kind of expedite the process to be ready for Gucci Sweater Palpatine. And secondly, if you're an Imperial fanatic like myself, he is going to be doing some crazy things, such as defeating Darth Revan with your Imperial Troopers. My goodness, ladies and gentlemen, it is, if you guys know the channel, Imperial Troopers are a staple to what we do here in Grand Arena. Before Imperial Troopers got Piett, one thing we saw was that they're able to beat things like Night Sisters, Bounty Hunters, and things of that sort. But with Admiral Piett, they're able to set themselves up for a really big opening, as I will break down for you today. And the best thing that we were able to see that they were able to beat was a Darth Revan team, a fast Darth, to mind you. We're going to talk all about speed, because your Imperial Troopers should be able to outrun Darth Revan teams, because mathematically they're ahead of the game when it comes to base speed and when you calculate leader abilities and whatnot. And they can beat Geonosians very consistently. So basically this team got a lot better. It reminds me of how Bounty Hunters got a lot better with the addition of the Mandalorian. But we will talk about non-Imperial Trooper teams. This character is really only for the Empire. I don't suspect this character is going to be a plug-and-play character for a variety of factions. It is an Empire team, and I will say, firstly, I'm first to criticize Capital Games when they don't do anything right. Galactic Challenge was kind of a flop here. A lot of other stuff in between, bad communication, yada, yada, yada. But what I can say, Capital Games has been nailing kits for characters and reworks. This is a very brilliant character. It's a unique character. I do believe this should have been a Grand Moff Tarkin rework. In my opinion, it seems very much so like a Grand Moff Tarkin rework, but they do great jobs with their kits. Really, the only bad character was Ki-Adi-Mundi, and that's because all the Mace Windu reworks and Jedi reworks got canceled, delayed. I digress on that point. So let's kind of transition into what I liked best about this character. We will have some gameplay towards the end, because one of my criticisms about this character was I was hoping it was going to bring more viability to lesser used Empire characters. Imperial Troopers are already a solid, middle of the rung team in the game. I was hoping Piett was going to be like Mon Mothma and bring viability to lesser used characters, and I have gameplay at the end. It doesn't seem to be the case that you can use trash Imperials with them against teams like Geonosians out there. We have a lot to learn. My testing is of course limited, because we don't really have a great place to test things out in the game, and I have to rely on my shardmates. Big shout out to Darth Curious for helping us out here. But let's talk about Imperial Troopers for a second, because that's what you're going to be seeing for the majority of the time here. Now, we made a video a while ago talking about the glory of the Empire and how Imperial Troopers are a very fun team to use that gets you a lot of great wins inside of Grand Arena. Now, with Piett, it changes a little bit. I want to bring this up here. Piett is a top 15 fastest character in Galaxy of Heroes, faster than things like Grandmaster Yoda, Darth Revan, and the list goes on and on and on, with a lot of big characters that traditionally are going to be fast. Now, Imperial Troopers, Stark and Piett, are faster than Darth Revan. Keep that in mind. Base speed. So when we're looking at base speed, Piett and Stark, they're already ahead of the game when you compare things like Darth Revan out there. Furthermore, General Veer's lead adds an extra 20 speed on top of it. So before you even start talking about mods, Piett and Stark are already way ahead of things like Bastila Shan and Darth Revan, for example. So it should be easy to outrun these Darth Revan teams. Now, there was a certain turn order before with Imperial Troopers, and it's still going to be mostly the same. But if you guys remember, a while ago, we got some turn meter changes. We got the turn meter overflow, and now you can perfect the opening lineup, because before those turn meter changes, all your Imperial Troopers would hit 100% turn meter, and the problem was they would just kind of randomly go. Now you can make sure you get a scientifically laid out procedure for your opening moves with Imperial Troopers. You're going to start off with Stark. Make sure Stark goes first. It's easy to accidentally make Piett faster than Stark. You want Stark to go first. He's going to do scan all wavelengths, feed turn meter to your entire Imperial Trooper team. Under the Veer's lead, you get turn meter for every buff on your team. And then you want Piett to go second before the rest of the troopers, because then he's going to use Imperial Ambition to grant offense up. And remember, Stark gives critical damage up. You're going to have offense up. And if you have things like Snow Trooper and whatnot, you're going to put out even more damage. And what I normally do is I just go ahead and put Inevitable Failure on Stark, because Stark already did his job. I need him for the opening move and turn meter, because that initial turn meter boost from Stark allows your slower Imperial Troopers to make sure they go first before things like Darth Revan's turn meter gains are extremely important here. And then idealistically, if you're going up against Darth Revan, you want Veers to go very next. But if you're going up against non-Darth Revan teams, you're going to want Death Trooper to make sure he opens up with an AoE to clear up any taunts. And then you're going to want Veers, to go ahead and lead his troopers into glory with his mass swarm abilities. And you see it here. Oh my gosh, we just stampeded things like Bas Lashan. We delete her right away. Boom. When you delete someone, you get turn meter gains for defeated enemies, and your team gets more turn meter and gets more buffs as a result. And then you increase cooldowns of Death Trooper, for example, so Darth Revan can't do an AoE fear on everybody, and you start deleting everyone. And boy, it just starts rolling. Massive opening moves. You get that initial burst of turn meter as quick as possible. And if you have the Zetas on Piett, which we're going to talk about here in a moment, he applies fear. He is basically a mini Darth Revan for your Imperial Trooper. So you can basically open up with a glorifying beginning start. You're going to have Stark, Piett, and then Death Trooper or Veers following up afterwards. It is amazing, people. It's an absolutely amazing combo here. For example, we're seeing Geonosians here. Before, it was kind of difficult for Imperial Troopers to burn through Geonosians, but thanks to that offense up and critical damage combo and Emperor's Trap, which grants even more offense, because Stark goes, then Piett goes, and then another Empire character is going to be the third one up in line. They're going to have at least 3 stacks of Emperor's Trap, which gives them an extra 18% offense. So 18% offense from Emperor's Trap, offense up, critical damage up. You just delete someone at the very beginning. So much massive damage, especially if you mod Death Trooper and Snow Trooper for critical damage and offense. You should be able to delete someone. Turn 1. That's basically every single time we tested it out. That would happen here. Now, for non-Imperial Trooper lineups, Piett seems to be all right. We did some low star testing with him, and because he's a support character, he has that benefit of not needing to be at high stars and high gear level. The main important things are, 1, feeding the offense up to your team, giving the Emperor's Trap, and of course, being able to daze and getting fear on the entire team. So he has a lot of low star viability, but I will say this. The main drawback with him not being at high stars is it's going to be hard to make him fast, because you're limited with your mods. You can't use 6-dot mods in him, which is the biggest concern I have. I'm the biggest advocate for this. We should stop having 6-dot mods gated at gear 12. They should let you use 6-dot mods at any gear level. My opinion there, I think that would be a great quality of life improvement right there. So yes, he has low star viability, but if you're trying to make that big opening move, like I said, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to make sure Piett goes second inside the lineup. But we did use a low star Piett, for example, with our Thrawn Galactic Legends counter, and it works fine. I mean, keep in mind, the main trio right now is Thrawn, Vader, Wat Tambor to beat Galactic Legends Rey. And the last 2 slots are kind of open. I use Imperial Probe Droid and Shore Trooper. Some people use Bas Lashan and Traya or Palpatine. Piett, it works fine in there. If you have a low star Piett, boom, it works. Emperor's Trap was really the best thing about him, and offense up, of course, because Vader, when he goes on his Merciless Massacre, every single turn he's taking while he's on Merciless Massacre, he's getting a stack of Emperor's Trap, 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 and when he's ready, he can have a massive Calling Blade, because if you do 6 times 8, that's 48% extra offense, and if you have the Wat Tambor Blast Tech Open Mod on Vader, that's extra offense right there, and Merciless Massacre gives him even more offense, and of course, if you had Imperial Ambition, that's offense up right there. So Vader puts out a lot more damage, which makes his Merciless Massacre spree go a lot easier. So he works in non-Imperial Trooper lineups as well. Right here we're seeing as well, although I said I complained that he wasn't really bringing bad Empire characters to glory, making him useful like Mon Mothma, he can make characters like Gary the Stormtrooper actually useful. In that last battle you saw there, since Gary has a bad taunt, Piett, being a fast character, can open up and pass over a mark over to Gary the Stormtrooper, which allows him to basically taunt for the team. And Gary's a very thick character and has a high defense amount, one of the highest defenses in the game. So you can kind of force taunts in that way. So although he's not revitalizing a dead part of the Empire faction, he's making some characters better, like Gary with that force mark, and he's making a lot of things more consistent or more powerful, like the Imperial Trooper. So he offers a lot, but as we see here, I wouldn't expect him to make things like Gar Suxon and Imperial Super Commando and Royal Guard amazing. But with Emperor Palpatine or Gucci Sweater Palpatine, things could change. And let's talk about mods and Zetas for a second. There are 2 Zetas on Piett. If you're going to go for Piett, the one that I highly recommend be mandatory is Suborbital Strike. Kind of explains itself right here. You get to reduce the cooldown by 1. You increase the stacks of Inevitable Failure, which again, even at low stars, it's kind of helpful. Although he wasn't putting out major damage, he's extremely thick. You saw in that last gameplay right there. Piett, even though he was only at 5 stars or whatever it was, low stars, he was able to take a silent strike from Genosian Spine, act like it was nothing. Because Inevitable, we didn't even talk about Inevitable Failure that much in this video, but it really helps him survive. So if someone dies off, he's going to be extremely tanky for the rest of the battle. And daze, so you're gonna get daze with this. That's the 3 big things are the cooldown reduction, the daze, and inflicting fear on all the enemies. That was the biggest thing, and that's why it was so poetic, implying fear to Darth Revan, and we would defeat someone with this ability, Suborbital Strike, and apply fear to Darth Revan. That is pure poetry right there. That put a big smile on my face if you weren't watching the stream yesterday. So 3 major things in one Zeta right here. That would be the mandatory Zeta. And if you really are going to use them for a lot of Empire stuff and you want to make sure things like Darth Vader and your Imperial Troopers can have a really solid opening, Emperor's Trap is all right. I don't think it's mandatory at this point. Maybe it'll be better when we have Gucci Sweater Palpatine, but getting Emperor's Trap at the start of every Empire's turn, it adds up over time. And keep in mind, every Emperor's Trap counts as a buff, which counts as turn meter for your Imperial Troopers when you're using Veer's lead. That's kind of something else put out there. The Darth Vader bonuses, I felt like they're minimal at best. It could be more important again with Gucci Sweater Palpatine. Overall, I love the character. I love what he's bringing for Imperial Troopers. Specifically, everything about his kit is really fun. And keep in mind, if mods, you want to make him fast, don't make him faster than Stark. That is my biggest opinion right there. And we kind of modded him for health and protection. I tried offense mods. Didn't seem to make much of a difference, but for sure you want to take advantage of him having a very high base speed, top 15 in Galaxy of Heroes, so you can make sure you open up with a very fun opening. I actually purposely did not give him speed on the arrow, so that way he won't outspeed my Colonel Stark accidentally. That's going to be really it for today. Oh, one more thing. I'm not a big fan of this leader ability. If you're going to be running an Empire team, most likely you're going to be running Veers or Palpatine or Thrawn lead, Darth Vader lead. This, if you're running a leftover Empire team, maybe that would be the case. And that leads me into the final point here as we walk out of here, is that there's a lot more to test with Admiral Piett that I didn't even really talk about here. There's a lot of fun interactions with Piett. For example, we found some cool interactions when he would force the mark on Maggie the Magma Trooper. She would get a lot of turn meter because of her unique ability. Maybe there's some fun compositions with Piett with Director Krennic and Death Trooper. You force a taunt on Director Krennic and Death Trooper gets ticked off and starts getting lots of turn meter and acts like a B2. Or you give it to Death Trooper and he keeps dying off. Krennic revives him and then Piett just keeps getting tons of Inevitable Failure stacks. A lot of fun tricks here, and this is just an initial impression of the video. If I learn more about this character I think you guys would enjoy, of course, I'm gonna make sure you guys know all about it. Man, I feel good. I love this character, and I only can imagine what the future is gonna look like with the addition of Gucci Sweater Sith Eternal Palpatine. Like if you did enjoy the video, comment down below and all your beautiful thoughts, and be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be in the Empire today. Someone roll out that outro, baby.